Hey, what's happening, everybody? Time to talk to our buddy Larry Krueger of Niners Nightly. Now, normally you'll see him on the stream, and he'll be joining us with that crystal clear audio. But today, he is all forgiven because after we were hanging out in Chicago last night, Papa, until midnight on the tarmac in that nice breezy 20-something degree weather, well, Larry Krueger is down to check out the San Francisco Giants, and so he is absorbing that beautiful Scottsdale warmth. So he's going to join us courtesy of the UMA guest line. Krug, it's great to be with you after we did a bunch of scouting, looked at a bunch of college prospects, and you destroyed our nostrils with the St. Elmo cocktail sauce and all those other combine shenanigans. How's it going with you, man?
It's going great. Doing great. We're here in Scottsdale. Saw the Giants yesterday. We're going to go play some golf today.
Oh, fantastic.
Giants are off today. Oh, nice.
So
you were the guy. You were the guy weeks ago when they brought up Debo, and he did it on Super Bowl Sunday to get it out. But we knew it was a possibility. Said day 3 pick, maybe a 5th-round pick. So just give me your thoughts. We knew it was coming, but there's a finality. And when we were watching the quarterbacks, wide receivers, and running backs work out on Saturday at the Combine, that Debo was dealt. So just what do you think? Good trade. Is now the time to remove Debo from the roster?
Yeah, I think it is a good trade. I mean, obviously, it's a dynamic player and a guy that we all really enjoy watching. But, they've got to hit a reset. He's played his best football, and it's just time. The 5th-round pick is not nothing. That's a really good asset to get. And overall, I think I like the deal. I mean, they could have gotten more, probably, but, in the eyes of some of the fans. But you know what? I think if you're really current on the Niners, you've seen the regression of Debo Samuel, and a 5th-round pick is more than fair compensation.
So Larry Krueger is joining us here down in Scottsdale, and yeah, I mean, the 49ers are eating $31.5 million in dead cap in order to make the trade as opposed to releasing Debo with that post-June 1 designation. So there's always a bunch of storylines to read into with any kind of move, especially when it's a player that's meant a lot to a franchise for 6 years. But I mean, just sending Debo to an NFC opponent who is on the rise, does that tell you what the 49ers think about him as a player now, or is that just reading too deep into it?
Well, I mean, there was a lot of people who were like, don't send him here, don't send him there. And I was like, guys, come on. I mean, that's an outdated take. I mean, that's a 2021 take. I think right now it's about the Niners are about the Niners. So it's not about what he's going to do somewhere else. I think they expect him to do well, in Washington. I really do. But doesn't mean that it wasn't a good move for the 49ers or wasn't the right move for the 49ers. I think it was.
And I do wonder who else offered. I mean, Washington is a team that played in the championship game last year, so a 5th-round pick from them would not be equal to a 5th-round pick from somebody else. And obviously Adam Peters knows him well. He's the one that drafted him. I do wonder what other offers were even out there to take that money back. But as we look ahead now, and we'll see what happens with Aiyuk, but assuming he does stay on the roster and he does come back to form at some point this year, he's your quintessential X wide receiver. You got Ricky, who can play F and Z, would be a Z, and then Jennings go back into the slot role. Just what do they need to do around that wide receiver room, or do you see a starting trio when they go 11 personnel of Aiyuk, Pearsall, and Jennings as being the way you want to go here?
Well, I mean, ideally, if Aiyuk is going to be on the team, and I don't know that that's going to be the case, Greg. I mean, I want Aiyuk to be on the team, but John Lynch made it sound the other day at the Combine like there was a chance that they were going to hit a reset financially, and he kind of hinted towards them getting younger and I don't know, he made it sound like, well, the upside is we'll get younger. Well, what he never stated the downside, but I think what was unstated there was maybe the downside is trading Aiyuk and moving on from Aiyuk. And I don't know if it's possible, but if you ask for a very little return, I think it is possible. I think they're thinking about Jed's money at this point and the expenditures. John quoted was saying, "Hey, we're second in cash spending in our tenure here." Well, where did he get that stat? I mean, somebody obviously told him, "Hey, look, you guys have spent a lot of cash. You won 6 games last year. We'd like, how about you defend me and my cash a little bit in my stake in this thing?" So I think there's a lot of undecided here, and a lot of unknowns here. But if Aiyuk is back, of course, that's your top 3. And then can you add a player in this draft, probably on day 3, that can complement those guys? There's 2 guys that really stand out to me after watching the college season and the Mobile and then, of course, the Combine. And that's Savon Williams, who in a lot of ways is very TCU receiver, very much like Debo. A lot of slants, a lot of screens, a lot of hitches. Wildcat quarterback. He was a high school quarterback. He's really dynamic. And the other guy who's absolutely a revelation now coming out of the Combine is the Tennessee kid, Dante Thornton, who would be very popular, I'm sure, with Jawan Jennings, to bring in a guy like Thornton, who's big, strong, fast, and talented, and ran 4.4 flat at 6'4", 216 pounds. That kind of big outside receiver, whether Aiyuk's there or not, I think is the kind of piece they're going to look for.
Talking to Larry Kruger here, and you're listening to KNBR and KNBR FM San Francisco, the sports leader, a Cumulus Media station. Wrapping up the first hour here on a fresh week, fresh off of the Combine. And Krug, I totally wanted to ask you about Savion Williams, because when that news broke, the Debo trade, Papa and I were sitting in the media area watching wide receivers go, and about 5 minutes after the news broke from Ian Rappaport, we saw Savion Williams running the 40-yard dash and doing the gauntlet drill, and I thought, this is a guy that I know has been compared to Debo in a possible replacement, and someone that would be good to ask Larry Kruger about. So what do you see with Savion Williams? And I know you just got into some of that in your last answer, but is he the type of player that you see, with the versatility, not necessarily the typical speed that we saw from somebody like Thornton, but could he make an immediate impact in a Shanahan system where rookie wide receivers have tended to, kind of take a year or two to really get into it?
It's a great question, Greg, because we really don't know about the work ethic and the traits as far as, the personal traits. How serious is he about football? How serious is he about his life? How focused is he? I mean, I don't know about you, but I wasn't, when I was 23, I wasn't necessarily the most serious guy. So it's not crazy that that young people would not be serious, or at least at first. And rookie receivers always seem like they have a hard time transitioning because of the complexities of coverage in the NFL compared to what you see at the college level. So it's a big unknown. But this guy is, he was a high school quarterback, and then he had 3 passing touchdowns this last year. He's been their Wildcat quarterback, direct snaps on the goal line. They snap it right to Savion, and he finds a hole. He's got pick and slide as a runner that's really advanced, and he has gigantic, I don't know if you saw the measurements, but his hands were like 10.5 inches. Those are gigantic mitts. But he also, on the negative side, is like Debo. He's not a refined route runner. He's not doesn't have the greatest natural ball skills. He sometimes will fight the ball into his hands. So he's big, strong, fast, nasty, dominant, and multi-skilled, but refinement as a route runner is a big part of getting open in the NFL, and I think there could be a ramp-up period.
Aiyuk and Debo were pretty good as rookies right away. They had the second and third most catches in the history of the franchise for any first-year players. Aiyuk was 60 and Debo with 57. The only guy to have more was Earl Cooper his rookie year, and he was a running back before they converted him to tight end. So if you can play, you can play.
Yep.
Obviously, the draft is months away. Free agency is less than a week away. Next Monday, March the 10th at 9 o'clock our time, and they can call it whatever they call it. And I think they already saw people illegally tampering, but you can do it legally in less than a week, Larry. And I think the interesting, Debo has moved here. So the next guy is going to be, there's a lot of guys. I think, what is Cincinnati going to do with T. Higgins? I'm hearing they're going to tag him. But Cooper Kupp. The Rams are going to have to make some move on Cooper Kupp. I don't know if they would trade him to the Niners, probably very unlikely, but there's a scenario where he does get released. Just if he's available, just watching him over the years, you would think, man, That is a Kyle Shanahan wide receiver. The way he runs routes from anywhere, his dog mentality, the way he blocks when he's not the one getting the call, both on Bubbles and for fellow wide receivers. Is there a scenario out there where Cooper Kupp could wind up a 49er, Larry?
I don't think so, but I do think it's intriguing. I mean, I don't think he would, the 49ers, he hasn't played a lot of games, as far as injuries in recent years. I think the 49ers are looking for to be healthier, younger, more dynamic, and I don't think he checks any of those boxes. So I think he's going to go somewhere else. I don't think he'll come here. If the Niners weren't I think it's all about how the 49ers view where they're at. And I kind of think John thinks they need to get younger, and I think they feel like they need to hit a reset. They're going to sign Brock. They're going to give him over $100 million guaranteed. It's going to dramatically alter their books, and I think it's going to change their viewpoint of the rest of this roster significantly.
Talking to Larry Kruger here, and I want to get into some trenches talk. Now, this isn't necessarily a who should the 49ers draft now at 11? I mean, a lot of things could play out, and when we last spoke to you, you said don't narrow in on a position, just draft greatness. But we looked at the D-line when Papa and I were out there, and this is the most depth I've seen at this position in a long time in a draft. And then the O-line yesterday had some wild standouts, and Armand Membu was someone who seemed to gain some stock and could be there at number 11. I mean, what were your general impressions on both the O-line and the D-line, and how that could kind of, shape what the 49ers end up doing here in round one?
It tells you about their engine, their lower body explosiveness. So, the jumps mean a lot. Well, the key workout number that I look for in the pass rushers is the jumping. It tells you about their engine, their lower body explosiveness. So, the jumps mean a lot. And you looked at Landon Jackson, he had a 40.5-inch vertical at 273 pounds, the Arkansas defensive end. Shamar Stewart had a 40-inch vertical. These guys are big-time athletes, and they're going to go, if you want to make sure you get them, you could probably trade back from 11 into the 20s and probably have your pick of those guys. I think that's one. If you want to go D-line, I think the plan is you trade back from 11. Maybe you wait at 11 to you, and then he may, because, he's not a great tester, and we'll see what the testing numbers all look like at the end. But if he doesn't fall to you, I think it's a trade back if you want to go D-line. If you want to go O-line, I think you pick right there. Will Campbell has short arms. There's a chance that NFL people that are so tied to their prerequisites may mark him down. He may fall down. Now, he's not going to fall down 25 spots, but he may fall down 5 or 6 spots. And if he falls down 5 or 6 spots, he's sitting in your lap. And then you got to decide, do you want the best tackle in the draft? Joe Staley had 33-inch arms. This guy's got 32 and an eighth, I think. So it's, these are short, he's a short arm tackle, but he's a blue chipper. He's done it in the SEC against great players. Membu is exciting, though. I mean, I love his film. I loved his workout.
Yeah, I was there. I stayed to the very end and watched him run that sub 540, and the way every 10-yard he hit, ooh, 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 got me excited. He sounded like Monica Seles for that guy, and he's got a barrel chest. One thing about the combine, and there's a couple of players that are really interesting to me, is television shows you some, but it does not show you nearly enough. There was a guy, Tyler Booker, from Alabama. Yeah. I don't know if he's going to be there, but just his dog mentality going through all of the workouts, whether it was a short pull, a long pull, a deep pull. Afterwards, he worked out when everybody else was off the field. He was the only one out there for an hour working on snaps, trying to make the conversion to center, and he is just a badass. Where do you see him going in the first round, Larry?
Greg, I'm absolutely agree with everything you just said. I love this prospect. Now, he didn't work out great, but who cares? The Niners passed the ball on 2nd and goal from the 4 in like week 16. They passed the ball on 3rd and goal from the 4 on the next play. I mean, you can't throw the ball inside the 5-yard line. You have to be able to run it in. If you have Tyler Booker, you will be able to run the ball in the low red zone. He's a destroyer. He's an absolute destroyer. 6'5", 330, long arms, and just buries people. I don't care about the workout numbers. I watch Alabama. I'll give you, there are 2 Alabama guys that played differently in this combine. Booker didn't work out well, but he's awesome. C.J. Dupre had like 10 more reps on the bench than any other tight end. He ran great. He lifted great. He jumped great, except he caught 3 touchdowns his entire career there. He's just like a guy. He's just a great athlete, but he's just, as a football player, he's just okay. Booker's a dominating guard. And if he can play center, yeah, and I know teams don't like drafting first-round guys, but, would you not draft Quentin Nelson in the first round? This guy's a beast.
He went
this
number
is a
6
plug
overall.
Yeah, exactly. Quentin Nelson's going to Canton. This guy right here, and from what I've heard from my buddies who've been on campus, he's a great kid who's also a terrific, leader and could change the whole room. So, yeah, that's a difference-making interior player. I love Tyler Booker.
Got a couple more minutes here with Larry Krueger, and then we'll let him go and enjoy that Scottsdale sun and make his tea time because, hey, that's way better than hanging out with us. And, I can't say that about many things here. I'm sarcastic, of course. But as we kind of look big picture on the 49ers and Debo Samuel, Morning Show was having a deep discussion about Debo was one of the, if not the face of sort of this era of the Lynch and Shanahan 49ers. And now they still got some of those guys, right? You still got Warner. You still maybe are going to have Greenlaw. You're going to have Bosa. You're going to have Kittle probably. So as we just kind of look at moving on beyond Debo, who do you see right here on March 3rd of 2025 as your top candidate of emerging as sort of this next face of 49ers post-Super Bowl 58 era?
Are you talking about offensive weapons who could emerge? I got to think Ricky Pearsall. I'll say this about Ricky Pearsall. He's all about it. He is all about it. He's all about his teammates. He's all about the sport. He's all about, holding himself to high standards. He struggled. He answered a lot of tough questions. This kid is going to have a much bigger step forward than I think people realize. You're going to, at some point, Purdy to Pearsall, you're going to know it's coming, and you're not going to be able to stop it because Brock's that accurate in the short range, and Pearsall's, the timing will be, they'll get the timing down. Pearsall with all the short routes, little stop routes, rub routes, little everything within 5 to 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. I think he's going to become a 3rd and 6 automatic. He's going to be a continuity piece. Now, they still need those dynamic players, and I can see him bringing in a dynamic, tight end, a receiver, a running back. I think they know they need some more dynamic weapons, but Pearsall is a continuity piece that keeps the offense on the field on 3rd and 6. I think he could be, a very dominant player. Not the same physical profile as Puka Nacua, but a lot of the same impact.
Without a doubt. That's why, and I know what you're saying about getting younger and less expensive, but Cooper Kupp as a role model around Ricky Pearsall would be so invaluable, and that guy can still play. But what'd you think of Robbie Ray's changeup yesterday, Cruz? 6 punch-outs in 3 innings of work?
I'll tell you what really woke me up was Luis Matos put a charge into one yesterday and sent it deep into the left field berm. And Matos, I'll say it right now, I think Matos and Luciano this year become this year's versions of Elliot Ramos. And I'll say another guy I talked to in the clubhouse yesterday was Casey Schmidt. Schmidt has got the right mentality, guys. He's just like, I'm going to show up. I know my bat hasn't arrived yet, but I'm going to play the heck out of second base. My bat's going to come. I'm just going to put my head down. I'm not worried about, am I making the roster? Am I not? I've got options. But look for Casey Schmidt's bat to come around this year. I think he's going to hit. And he's got tremendous defensive instincts, and him and Fitzgerald at second could be a real highlight.
Krug, really appreciate you coming by with us. We won't hold you any longer. Go enjoy spring training. We'll talk a little bit more about the Giants the next time we have you on, but great to do a little post-mortem for the NFL Combine, and we'll keep monitoring what the Niners do because long way to go. They lost a piece, and now it's time to get younger and think about the future.
I'll leave you with this, too, guys. I'm really hot to trot on 2 day 3 sleeper quarterbacks. Not that the Niners need a quarterback, but they may go with quarterback. I loved me some Brady Cook, and I loved him, and I loved him in season. This kid was carried off on a stretcher earlier this year, came back and won a game, and I love Riley Leonard. I thought he threw well enough yesterday to be an NFL player. Those guys are gamers, man. I love those guys on day 3.
Yeah, I was impressed with Riley Leonard's drops. He drove out from under center, crossing his feet. Kyle McCord, I didn't love his drop, But that guy puts the ball perfectly on point every single time. As Bill Walsh always stressed, a catchable ball. What did you think of the former Ohio State Buckeye turned Syracuse Orange, Kyle McCord?
He's got way bigger arm than I ever thought, Greg. Way bigger arm. I mean, I think this guy can put it in tight windows. I did not like this guy's film at Ohio State at all. But you know what? He had a really nice year this year for Syracuse. And I'll tell you, that kid that he threw to this year, Gadsden, the tight end, is also a player. I mean, I could see Gadsden being a dynamic day 3 Kyle Shanahan offense tight end. I think Gadsden would be nice. But I love McCord. McCord's got a hose. I think he's probably going to go early, though. I think he's probably going to be off the board before day 3.
Krug, you're the best. Appreciate you, and we'll talk soon.
Guys, I haven't played golf in a while, so I just want to warn everybody in Scottsdale.
4!
Let me just yell 4 off the opening tee.
16!
Have a great day, guys.
Thanks, Krug. Yeah, hey, that's
important.
important.
Well.
That's important, by the way. You got to set the bar low. You got to set the bar low, both in terms of the drink orders and when you're out on the golf course. So
don't be like Larry David. If you drive one and you carry it a little bit too far, make sure you yell 4. Make sure you yell 4. That's all I'm saying.
I got to go watch some Curb Your Enthusiasm. It's like I've seen it all, but I need to just reintegrate it into the diet. It's kind of like vegetables, just kind of like sprinkle it in here and there. Always have a little bit of Curb Your Enthusiasm fresh off the top of the dome. Coming back, we're going to react to our comments with Larry Krueger and then also get a little bit deeper into what we saw out at the NFL Combine in Indianapolis. It is Papa and Silver, wide awake on a Monday on the Sports Leader.